Yep, we're live. I think it takes like a few seconds for it to. Yep, we're live. Hi, everyone. One second. All right. Hi, everyone. Good to meet you. Good morning and welcome. My name is Ayomide, and I am a co-lead of SysDsgn and SysConf. And these are my partners, Chidi and Bayo. So Chidi, Bayo.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Ayo. My name is Chidi. I also, alongside Bayo and Ayo, sort of organize SysDsgn, which is this sort of technical community we have on Twitter, organized Twitter spaces talking about different topics. And we've also, organized this conference just to highlight a couple topics, highlight a theme where we're trying to get more sort of experience with technical topics. And it's lovely to have everyone. We have quite a number of people already in chat, so it's really good to see. Welcome.
Cool. Hi everyone, Bayo here. Co-lead, like they have said, and it's great to have you guys here. I already see some of the activity in the comment section, and I'm looking forward to more of the activity here. But yeah, super excited to have you here. Happy this is finally happening. I hope you guys are gonna learn like so much today from like the talks and the speakers. The lineup is mind blowing, right? So I really hope you have a good time today. But yeah, welcome.
So now we're just waiting for someone to join. We're going to have a panel session that's going to be moderated by David Chuka. So just waiting for him to join. One second.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah.
I didn't know I was supposed to come on stage yet. Sorry, give me 1 second.
Sure.
Can everyone hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is this clear?
Yeah, this is fun.
Okay, all right. Hi, everybody. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is David Chuka, and I am going to be moderating this amazing panel session filled with superstars, of course. I'm very humble to be in their midst. All right. Just give me 1 sec. Just a second. Right. Okay. All right. Basically, this panel session is to just trying to get to understand the reason why we're all here and to meet SysDsgn and SysConf organizers and co-leads. So we are going to be asking a bunch of questions, and at the end of the panel session, I'm going to leave some time for other people to ask questions as well. I can see comments here. So at the end of the panel session, I'm going to like read some of the comments for the co-leads and the organizers to answer. All right. So, like I said earlier, I'm David Chuka. I am a software engineer, I'm a software engineer, developer educator, and I'm a co-host of Inside Ecosystem podcast. If you've never heard about it, please check it out after this.
Bio.
Yeah. So I have three superstars, like I mentioned earlier. We have Ayomide, Oyekanmi, Chidi Williams, and Bayo, Opesanya. All of these guys are doing amazing stuff in the ecosystem and with SysDsgn and SysConf. So I know they came on stage recently to just like talk about themselves, but I actually want each and every one of them to introduce themselves properly because I don't think I'm doing enough justice. So Ayomide, please go first.
Okay, I can go first. So about me, I'm a software engineer. So I'm an SRE actually, which is a software engineer but for ops. So I work at Google. Before Google, I worked at a few companies in Nigeria. So I worked at Team Apps, which is now called MoneyPoint. And I worked at a company called Fairmoney. In all of these roles, I was a backend engineer, did some front-end stuff. Currently very interested in low-level systems, understanding how things work, reading, building interesting stuff, and running. So I like to run. So yeah, that's kind of about me. I'm not sure if those details that's very detailed, but yeah.
All right. Don't worry, we'll have more questions as we go ahead. All right, Chidi, please give us a brief intro. Tell us a fun fact. Let's
Yeah.
get to know you.
Yeah, of course. So I guess I could start with I did go to school with Ayo, although we're in different courses and years. But we went to both went to Covenant, which was I think where we first met. But that said about myself, I used to work for a fintech startup, AO, in Lagos. So just after leaving school, I joined them to work for about 2 years, and I worked as a backend developer. So it's a bit of TypeScript, Node, Go, stuff like that. And then where I did actually meet Bayo. So I met Ayo through school, Bayo through my first role. And then after 2 years, I left to London. So I used to live in Lagos. I moved to London. I currently work at GS, and I do, I guess, generally full stack web development. So quite a bit of backend and front end work. That said, about myself, I guess one interesting fact about me is I like to play music. I like to listen to music as well. But I do play the piano, guitar. In terms of styles, I'm also a really big fan of jazz music generally. So if you are someone who's interested in that, you can always, ask me for a good conversation about, jazz, soul type of music. Yeah.
All right, thanks. Bayo, you go.
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Bayo. Like my full name is Adi Bayo. But I mean, maybe only my grandmother and my wife call me that. So, so Bayo works for everybody else, to be honest. Yeah. So my name is Bayo. It's good to meet you guys here. I'm the only one of the group that didn't attend Covenant University. But I mean, thankfully, I have something in common. Like Chidi said, we went at work, and we worked together as well. So I currently work as an engineering lead at a company called Mukuru. Mukuru does remittances globally, right? So I'm an engineering manager there, and I started my career as a backend engineer, like everybody else. Not everybody, like both of them. Yeah, so I started my career as a backend engineer, like both of them. But then eventually, sort of just found out that I might be a better manager than an engineer. So I love to organize people, organize work, and I'm still very much in touch with like a lot of technical details because I work with technical teams, obviously. So that's like what my professional, I say, history would look like. Well, before Mukuru, I was at Yoko, also a South African fintech. I was at where again? I don't know, our pass, like fintech. I mean, it's fintech all the way. So I don't know if that's a sad thing. Anyway, I was going to say sadly, but yeah,
Nigerian engineers.
yeah, it's 5 or 6. So yes, but fun fact, there isn't so much that is fun. Only that I think I'm exploring life through a newborn's eyes. Not newborn, because newborn is like fairly almost a year old now. So I think that's the most interesting thing for me in the last 1 year. Just living life through a newborn's eyes, and yeah, everything is strange and it's just fun to witness.
Yeah, that's very interesting to know. I would say my fun fact. I had to do a research of all the panelists here before today, and I was on their LinkedIn. First thing I'd say is everybody needs to hustle. And the second thing I'll say is there was a common pattern, there was a common trend amongst all these three people is that a lot of their comments on LinkedIn was congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. And then when you check who they're congratulating, someone just got a mad job at a mad company. Such a he just achieved a very interesting feat. So my goal for the next year is to get one of either Chidi, Adebayo, or Ayomide to tell me congratulations. It would be a really really strong that I've made it in life, So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you very much. So Bayo, tell us a little bit about.
I was going to say, can we just tell you congratulations now?
No, not yet, not yet, not yet. I still have a long way to go. I'm working towards it though, so hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. So Bayo, tell us a little bit about SysDsgn and how it started and what was the reason for starting it.
Good. So I think there's like two histories or two beginnings per se. So the beginning was, I think it was in maybe 2020, I'm not sure, where I used to like host people every Tuesday to just talk about like system design stuff. So just describe the system, how would you solve this, how would you solve that, and that went on for a bit. Ayo and Chidi were there as well. But then for various reasons, I mean, we just couldn't like keep up with, of course, meeting weekly. You can't possibly start off meeting weekly to that. So it didn't work out. But then later on, we started with, getting people and like people who worked on stuff, both personally and at their companies, to share, their stories on our Twitter spaces. And like we've had like a good number of speakers. I think you should check out our history. Like there's so many good talks that we've had. But then the essential idea was to communicate technical concepts, but simply a little bit below like the surface stuff, right? We're more interested in like the details of how things worked, and not just, hey, use this framework because it's good, don't use this one because it's bad, or just basic, this is how to use this, run this command and you're good. We just wanted to go a little bit deeper, and I think that's been the drive behind everything else. It's also the drive behind the conference as well. And if you look at the talks, you notice that there's nothing that looks like how to set up Node on your PC. It's a little bit, there's a little bit more detail than that. So I mean, Chidi and Ayo have like been super influential with like the Twitter spaces. I'm sure you guys will know them very well. And they've run like a lot of the shows, so I'll let them do the rest of the talking.
I mean, I would say that like Bayo is probably the perfect person to actually study history, because he started it with it was initially called System Design Tuesdays, because it was on Tuesdays. And we rebranded the name to SysDsgn, which we were actually sure was the name we wanted to run with, but I think has now stuck. But anyway, like Bayo said, it used to be Tuesdays. That didn't work out. Then Chidi started this Discord channel this Discord server that we all joined. And on that Discord server, I think we now started like a weekly thing there where people would get on a call and people would start talking about stuff. That also probably went on for some sessions, but I think we had to stop. I don't know. I don't remember why we had to stop, but I don't think it was something we could commit to because of whatever reason was happening. So we needed to rethink, like, okay, we want to be committed to this thing. We want to be able to do it in the midst of everything going on. How do we do this? And I think we had one conversation one day, like we got on this Google Meet call. I don't remember when it was. It was probably like towards the end of some year or towards the beginning of some year. Got on the call, said, okay, yeah, let's try like this monthly thing. And yeah, that's how it started.
Great. Chidi, anything to add?
Yeah, just like I mentioned, and Bayo also, we've had, I think the interesting thing about SysDsgn is we've had very many different threads through which we've tried to, I guess, converge into a particular thing. We've individually tried to do something like this in our different ways. Someone is asking if there is still a Discord server, so that got sort of abandoned or cancelled. Maybe 2 years ago now or something, if not more. But essentially, yes, there was a Discord server. There was sort of me trying to do something like SysDsgn, where we have frequent talks. It was also a full server where you could ask for questions or share articles or discuss articles, stuff like that. But I did feel after a while of running it that one, I didn't really like Discord at all. It is very there's a very high information overload that happens on Discord.
Yeah.
I think generally even with chat channels, even Slack in some ways, although not as much as Discord, I sometimes find them just too demanding with even after turning off notifications and limiting the distractions on the app itself. I still just found it too much. And then after a while, it just felt like maybe that wasn't the right platform to use to organize something like that. So currently, we just have the Twitter sort of spaces. We already know a good part, maybe not all of the Nigerian tech community, but a very good chunk of the people we're trying to reach and the sort of kind of audience we're trying to get is already on Twitter. And they're already interacting on Twitter. So it was just a much easier way to get that group engaged on Twitter. Very easy for them to know when we're having sessions. You don't need to send links around or send information around besides Twitter itself. So that just felt like a good, natural progression from that.
I totally agree with the, fact that this is a very, highly technical and it's mostly for curious people who want to go deeper. Because I actually remember joining some system design Tuesday spaces, and like I said earlier, everyone needs to hustle and step up their game. Okay, I'm curious to know if this, some of these talks, that some of the Twitter Spaces talks that happen, some of them have been a while back. I don't know. Do you still have the recordings maybe for people to like take a look at that or Bayo?
Yes, we have a Spotify. We set up Spotify, right?
Okay.
We set up Spotify for like the past recordings, and I think we'll talk more about that later or share that later. Yeah, but we did set up Spotify. Yeah.
All right, great. So Chidi, tell us a little bit about what inspired this conference. Believing that it's the first of its kind, and we'd love to know the origin. You already told us about how system design, came up. You guys wanted to share more, technical and deeper talks and stuff. So, what was the motivation to, have a conference such as this?
Yeah, of course. So this is something we've had minor, small discussions on for quite a while. So it's maybe even been more than a year since we started having very minor conversations as to, what can a conference, a SysDsgn style of conference look like, and how would we possibly organize it? How can we get more, a lot more dense content, a lot higher density of content in the conference itself than what we have with our spaces? Because, for example, the Twitter spaces we have happen, say, once every month, sometimes happen a bit more infrequently. And I guess we just really wanted to do a sort of high quality conference that would engage a lot of people we're speaking with. And in terms of the actual content of the conference itself and what we're trying to do with it, I think that something that we have noticed and something we've seen just generally is there is obviously been for a while now a really big tech community in Nigeria generally. So we're all three of us are from Lagos, Nigeria. We obviously have been there for a while. We worked in startups or companies around that scene. So there's really this big tech community within the Nigerian ecosystem. But something we kind of noticed was in terms of I guess quality of some conferences or the content of some conferences we're trying to attend, we saw that there was a way to sort of improve them and do better in at least one direction as to the kinds of conferences we wanted to attend. So when we're looking at folks like QCon, for example, so there's this conference, if you're not aware of it, but there's a conference called QCon that organizes, they organize global conferences in different cities around the world. And what they do is invite different engineering leaders and managers and CTOs and all that to attend, and then they talk about very different topics. So that kind of thing was targets that we're trying to achieve in that. And we know that, of course, conferences have different goals and objectives. For example, you might want to do one for a particular, like you might have like an Android conference or a front-end heavy conference that is aligned to a particular theme. You might also be trying to align to getting more people into tech, for example, where you're trying to do introductory topics to tech, like how to get started with a tech career, how to get started with open source, for example. So what we had seen was we had a number of events and things like that that were helping people get into tech more, and we're helping people get into particular technologies like Android or Google-based technologies or front-end UI type technologies. And what we saw was that there wasn't quite as much attention paid to people who are, say, in the middle of their careers, who already work in tech, who have been in tech for maybe 2 years, 3 years plus, people who are now getting into mid-level positions, senior level positions, engineering leadership. And we're trying to organize a conference that can help people get to that level pretty much, which is especially for people who are already in their career. And even though it's open to everyone else, no matter like where you are in your career, I think the focus we're trying to bring is how do we get people to an even more senior level? How do we get them thinking even deeper about technology they build, whether they work in Nigerian startups or companies or even global companies? How do you get to, I guess, that level that we see globally that we can try to reach?
Thank you so much, Chidi, for that answer and for that response, because it's been a controversial topic in the tech ecosystem for a while now. Talking about conference types and the quality of the conferences, and I think a lot of people are excited about this one. Ayo, this question goes to you. Talking about the theme for today, experience over assumptions. That's a pretty interesting thing. I've actually, looking at it, you can't really tell. It's like it's quite unique, and I'm pretty sure everyone is curious to know why this was chosen to be the theme of today's conference, right? What was the idea behind choosing this particular thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Experience over assumptions was kind of an iteration. We iterated a bit over the theme idea. I think like a background is, Chidi has given some background. We wanted something more technical. We see that we have a tech ecosystem, and we see an opportunity for people to be more technical, have more technical conversations. And there are, I would say, ripple effects of being more technical, right? You're able to make better engineering decisions. You're able to build better products. You're able to I don't remember other examples right now, but there are ripple effects for these things. And so something we wanted to achieve with the conference was to have technical discussions that can have these ripple effects. Trying to measure the outcome at the end of a conference would be a bit difficult because there is no metric, direct metric we can measure to say, okay, because you had this talk at this conference, you're a better engineer today. But I really believe, and through our conversations, that the conversations we've had on Twitter, through the talks that we'll have today, I believe that these things compound into making people better engineers. So you listen to these things, you apply them, and you become better engineers after doing this in a repeated fashion. So the experience of assumptions has a few perspectives. The first is we wanted people that were talking, giving talks today, to be people that were experienced in what they were talking about. And so if you were just talking about the topic because you thought it was interesting, or you haven't really worked on a project on it, or you don't have experience, your talk is probably not going to get accepted. So the people who are talking about topics today have either worked on, projects around the area, or they've led teams around the area, or they just know a lot about the area. There are even people that, it's not necessarily people that have worked for, people are not talking about, some people are not talking about topics that are around projects they've worked on for companies. Some people have built play projects, where they have applied this thing. And that matters as well. Because something we also want people to get out of the conference is to see like benefits you can get from building like simple things or toy things that can help you learn stuff, right? And so there are people here that they're not coming here in the capacity of what they do at work, but in capacity of what they've done, just outside of work, just trying to play around with something. So the people that are speaking would have experience. And then the other thing is we want people, like I said, from the experience of these speakers, learn how they make decisions, like engineering decisions. So a lot of what will be highlighted today in the talks would be how they made certain engineering decisions they made for their products or for their project, and people can learn from that. And then we also want people to, like I said earlier, leave knowing like the benefit of, because a lot of people today are going to do demos. A lot of people today are going to talk about, how they implemented like a certain area. So people to leave here seeing like a benefit in going to try stuff out. Like not just learning things theoretically, but also building experience by working on tiny projects, building their own thing, XYZ. I think like one benefit that this conference could have is people see that you don't have to build like a complicated project to like learn stuff. Like one of something I tweeted very recently was like we shouldn't I'm paraphrasing now because I don't even remember my own words, but we shouldn't despise simple projects. We shouldn't despise simple things. Like don't despise simple things just because you want to build something complicated. Simple things help you learn stuff. So those would be kind of the perspectives of the theme, like what experience over assumptions means. But something I do want to highlight though is I was having a conversation with someone about the theme, and they raised a very interesting perspective, which is there's some times where you don't really have experience, and the first time you're approaching a topic or whatever, like you have to make some assumptions. And I think that's right to a degree, right? There is like work done where I have no idea what like this thing is, and I have to learn it, and I don't have enough time to build like a toy thing or whatever. Like the thing I'm learning, I need to apply it immediately. So there is that caveat. But I do think that a lot of things, like something that you will find is a lot of things have similarities, right? The way that it's implemented,
always a pattern and stuff.
Yeah, like the way that something is implemented in operating systems, for example, we have linked lists in how like memory works, how file systems work, right? And then if you bring that upwards, like you bring the abstraction upwards, you have linked lists in how queues work, or have linked lists in how apps like Spotify work, right? And it's not very obvious, but even if I don't know how to build a front-end app, but I know how file systems work, for example, like how the inodes connect other inodes, then I can tell, like I can think about the Spotify problem if I was building the app, for example. So I think it still applies, So, but there are some times though that you don't have experience. So just like that caveat.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ayo. We have to keep this going so we can have space for questions. Bayo, just go see you. What should we expect from the talks today? Because I've seen an amazing lineup of speakers and talks, and like you said earlier, no one is teaching you how to create a Node.js app today. So like, what can we expect from some of the talks today? I'm pretty sure everybody's excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect what people will call very technical talks, right? So expect, or maybe I should say what you should not expect. So maybe you should not expect some very entry level type talks, right? Yeah, so but then what you should expect is to hear from people who are very experienced, first of all, and expect like to hear some very deep knowledge on like the topics that have been presented, and expect variety too, because if you look at topics, it's not like they're spread across, like it's very diverse type of topics as well. So expect to learn a lot about a lot, right? And yeah, of course there'll be, I believe there'll be demos at some point, so expect some sort of interaction on that level. And but I think the biggest thing to expect though is to leave knowing more than you did as at like 9 a.m. Nigerian time this morning.
Yeah. All right. Chidi, I've attended multiple events on Open before, and sometimes can get quite difficult to navigate the system. I read in the comments that someone has been in the reception for the longest time, and the person just got in. So, how do you think attendees should make the most of today's talks? Like, attending each talk and just.
Yes, so I'll say on that, for anyone who's having any technical issues, feel free to reach out to us. So you can actually send a message to our Twitter account, our SysConf conference account, and we should have someone who can help out with any issues you have. I see a couple of people as well talk about not being able to view on some browsers, but it looks like we're having other people send suggestions for whether to use the mobile app or to use Firefox, for example. I've seen. So I would say just try to be active, try to read some of the comments so that you can get some help. And if you need any additional support, you can send a message to our Twitter account and we should have someone reach out to you. That said, more generally, I think like you'd have in any conference where you're trying to learn something, trying to do something, I think it's very helpful to try to be attentive, to try to take notes, to try to engage with the topic, not just listening to the speaker, but also trying to engage with the ideas. Think about cases where you can apply some of what you learn into your real world. And more concretely, I think it's going to be really helpful for you to find something that actually interests you here and try to take it further from this point. So it's not just about listening for an hour or 2 hours to a particular talk, but more about like, what have you taken from that? Because there's only so much you can learn from a 45 minutes, 30-minute talk. What you really want to do is to be able to get out some stuff from that and be able to apply that to your own personal technical development.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chidi. I have one final question, but before I ask it, please, if you have questions, there's going to be about 3 to 4 minutes to take questions. So please keep sending your questions and comments in the chat, and we'll take that once we're done. Okay, so my final question goes to Bayo. Bayo, back to you. Well, I hope this goes very well. But apart from that, I'd also love to see more of this type of events in the future. So can you tell us a little bit about the future plans and vision, for the conference? Is there going to be SysConf 2.0, 3.0? What's the package update like?
Yeah, I mean, good question. So I mentioned something about not being afraid to try small things. So this is like our first small thing. And so this is like version 1. I believe there will be more SysConfs. What form will they take? I do not know. Maybe we'll have a physical one someday. I hope so. It'd be nice to meet like a lot of people who attend. But I think you should expect that there'll be more. Expect our Twitter spaces to continue, and expect like it will get better, right? There'll be even more technical topics. I think that's like how far I can go. Will there be a 2.0? I believe there will be. But
I'll say send funds. That's kind of the
okay. Yeah, there's that.
Send funds, honestly.
If you have a GoFundMe, please plug it in the link below.
Just follow us. Like we will definitely like announce as we go. But yeah, send funds.
I mean, maybe it's a good time to like thank like the sponsors.
Yes, of course. So,
yeah, like so. I mean, it was very also something that I think is very special about it as well is it was very short notice. But they all like really believed in what was happening, like the vision. So our sponsors today are MoneyPoint, Convoy, and We Create. So we want to thank 3 of them for making this a possibility. I think the commitments we got from them is what makes this possible. Like the sheer number of tickets that we opened, we wanted to make this free for everyone, at least this first conference, and with their help, we're able to get 800 tickets that were completely sold out. So we're very grateful to them. So thank you, MoneyPoint, Convoy, and We Create.
Yeah, thank you, MoneyPoint, Convoy, and We Create. So I'll be expecting questions. in the chats and the comments. So please send in your questions. But before we round up this amazing panel session, I have a question for each panelist. So please tell us one technical book, talk, or video that has had the most impact on your career so far. I'm pretty sure everybody is, going to know what got the bosses to this point. So if there's any technical book or video or talk that just kind of shifted the way your career was going or your perspective about a lot of things, including system design, data structures, algorithms, computer best practices, and all of that. So, Ayomide, you can go first.
They're quite like a few books, but I would say one that I read with Chidi, which is Crafting Interpreters. So, short story. When I was in CU, Covenant University, we had a compilers course. And I left that compilers course feeling like only dragons could write compilers. But then Chidi and I were hanging out like towards the end of one year, and I think he was looking into like getting like a book on interpreters or something, like a book on compilers/interpreters. And I saw it and like we spoke about it. And I thought it was interesting. So I also got it. And so like there was like a string of a few weeks where we would write some code and then meet like every Monday to talk about what we had written the week before. And essentially so we'll read the book. The book would have like, I think like projects or things that we needed to write. And then we'll come on like a weekly thing and talk about what we learned the week before, what we didn't understand. I always had a bunch of questions. So like we had a doc where like I would dump in questions and we'll talk about it like when we see. So something that was very special about the book was it kind of broke down the mammoth that was compilers / programming languages to me. And it's kind of also influences how I think about like why I say it's important to build toy things. Because the idea of compilers I had, the idea of programming languages I had was a lot more complicated than it actually is. And the book helped me break that down, right? I mean, there are for sure complex topics around like compilers and programming languages and interpreters, but the way that the book helped me approach the topic, I think was very influential on how I think about stuff today. So that was something. So the name of the book is Crafting Interpreters. Crafting Interpreters.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Chidi, what about you? What talk, what book, what video, what course changed the course of your career for the better?
Yeah, I already took mine. Just kidding. But I really also have liked a book called it's called Code, The Hidden Language of Computer Hardware and Software. I almost always recommend the book. So it's Code, The Hidden Language of Computer Hardware and Software, and it's by Charles Petzold. And I think it's really fantastic. What the book does is it builds up your understanding of computer systems from the ground up. So you start with a very simple, how does binary communication like Morse code work? Like how do you like clap, for example, and leave silent? And how do you use that to communicate from something really simple, building up to how sort of binary digital communication works. So how does a transistor work? How does a logic gates work? How do OR and NOT gates work, for example? And then building that up to processors and eventually computer systems. So it's a very ground up book that says like this is how something works from the very fundamental level. And I think it really helps you to appreciate how wonderful and complex computer systems are.
All right. Thank you very much, Chidi. Bayo, over to you.
I'll have to only say one. So I think I'll pick Designing Data Intensive Applications, right, by Martin Kleppmann. I think in Nigerian parlance, the summary of the book is Wahala no dey finish. So the book just goes, it's like, it can be fairly difficult to read because every paragraph I have to Google one or two things. At the time I was reading the book, and I had to Google like one or two things every paragraph. But the book sort of like goes into details of like distributed systems and databases and how your systems communicate and what are the million things that could go wrong in building those kind of systems. One of the examples I remember is like Google Docs. right? So he talks about how, three people are editing a document at the same time. How is that reconciled? What does the backend look like? The database, what does it look like there? And it's a very fantastic book. I still recommend it to people today, and I get a lot of good feedback. So,
all right. So that's designing data-intensive applications.
Yeah, by Martin.
All right. So if anyone is curious to know, how these bosses got to where they are, those are some of their. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining this discussion. This was very insightful and very fun. Really appreciate it. And we didn't get any questions in the comments, but in the comment sessions, I'm very sure that there will be questions. All right. So see everybody in the next room, I guess. Yeah. Thank you guys so much, and thank you to the sponsors once again for putting this together. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, David, for moderating as well.
No problem. It was my pleasure.
All right. So thanks, everyone. So the next talk is happening here, actually. So I guess you can just wait, stay around. But we can go off. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.